Hello, friends, and happy belated 4th of July. I pray that you had a safe and a happy 4th, celebrating America's freedom. You know, it is a privilege and it is a blessing to live in a country where we have such freedoms. We have freedoms like personal freedoms to where I'm free to marry who I want to marry. I'm free to work where I want to work. I'm free to choose what denomination I want to be as a believer. And I'm free to assemble and gather each week as we worship Christ together at Fuquay-Varina Baptist Church. But we also have political freedoms in this country where we can vote and we get the opportunity to vote for whichever candidate we feel matches our values. But you know, you can live in the freest country this world has ever known and still be in bondage. I'm not talking about physical bondage. I'm talking about spiritual bondage. I want to give you 3 sources for where you can find freedom from spiritual bondage. They all start with the letter S. The first one is the scriptures. Jesus in John 8:32 said this, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." You go to John 17:17, and Jesus is praying the high priestly prayer, and he prays this. He says, "Father, sanctify them in your truth. Your word is truth." Now put those together. If the word sets you free, you are free indeed because it is truth. You see, it's in the word of God to where we can find how we are to be saved. It's in the word of God whereby we can know that we are saved by grace through faith. Not trying to work our way into heaven, not trying to earn our way into heaven, but by what Jesus Christ did at the cross. It's a free gift. And it's those scriptures that tell us how we can think clearly about our salvation. So you have the scriptures, but I want you to know there's a second source of where we find freedom. It's in the Son. Yeah, the S-O-N. Jesus goes on in John chapter 8, verse 36, and it says, "Who the Son sets free is free indeed." You see, Jesus sets us free from the penalty of sin and from the power of sin. He sets us free from the curse of sin. How did he do that? By becoming sin on our behalf, that we might become the righteousness of God. You see, it's through Jesus Christ and his death, burial, and resurrection that we have true spiritual freedom. But think about what Jesus did when he was here. I think of Nicodemus, who came to Jesus at night, and Nicodemus was trapped in bondage. It was the bondage of legalism or trying to keep the law to be right with God, and we know you can't do that. So Jesus frees him from that moral legalistic bondage. Jesus freed a man named Zacchaeus. Yes, he was a wee little man. He was a tax collector, and Jesus freed him from the bondage of greed. I think about John 4 when Jesus is at a well, and there's a woman who has a bad reputation and a bad past. Jesus frees her from all that moral garbage and that sin that she was carrying. You see, Jesus is a freedom provider. But there's a third source of freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17 says this, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." You see, it's the Spirit of God that truly provides the freedom. The freedom that I no longer have to try to keep the law. The freedom that says I've got to be good enough to earn God's privilege and rights and earn his blessings. You don't earn God's blessings. He gives them to you by grace. And when you are born again, the Spirit of God comes and he indwells you and he empowers you and helps you to live out the kind of life that Christ wants you to live. You see, that's where love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, and faithfulness, that's where it comes from. It's from the very Spirit of God living in us. You see, there's freedom in the Scriptures, there's freedom in the Son, and there's freedom in the Spirit of God. Pray that you'll have a happy 4th of July, but more importantly, I pray that you will walk in the freedom that God provides.